Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make Masterboard magic in 30 minutes. You won't believe how easy it is to make a beautiful masterboard. So I'm working on an 11 by 17 copy paper. This I used as an underpaper when I was gessoing some things. Then there's some stamping on it. I was basically going to throw this in the garbage and decided to use it as the base. All these markings are going to be incorporated into the masterboard. Then I grabbed my Posca pen, which was just sitting right there, and I'm just doing some asemic writing. And asemic writing is kind of nonsense writing. I'm kind of accentuating the loops and whether they go up and down, and I'm just putting some of this on. I really like the look of script when it's in one of the first layers and it's pushed back and you get little bits peeking out. My pen isn't working extra, really well here because there is gesso on that surface and it's causing the nib some difficulties. So when I started this page, basically I'm looking around my studio and grabbing things that are there and using them to create with. So you're not wasting anything. That's really freeing when you know that you've taken stuff that would otherwise be in the garbage. So I'm just putting a little bit of script on there. And I'm looking around and I see an envelope that's filled with music paper and text paper, little bits that, are so precious I cannot throw them out. So I'm just going to rip some music paper and then you'll see me gluing this down with fluid matte medium. Now this paper, you will see the music in the final masterboard, but it also adds incredible texture. Anything that we glue down and collage down can give pattern, can give color, but it also is giving texture, especially when you layer it up. And it makes the paper just richer somehow. Now, a masterboard is used, it's artist created paper that you use, you can cut up and use it in other art for whatever purpose that you want. Now the benefit of doing it is right now you're just focused on the creating. You're not thinking about what the final product is going to be, the art journal page or the focal image. None of that's been decided. Right now it's thoroughly creative. I'm just very intuitively grabbing things around me and adding them to this paper. When you're using a masterboard, you're going to end up using it for multiple projects. So you're only making the mess once. You're digging out the paints once. And I find that I'm more creative and I get more detail in when I do a masterboard than when I do just a specific background for one single page or project. So I'm looking around and I see this aqua of this napkin, this unicorn napkin. I have two of this napkin and I may use some of that unicorn for a purpose, but I know I'm not going to need both. But I like this color, so I'm putting it down. And again, I'm gluing it down with fluid matte medium underneath and on top of the napkin. Again, this is a collage paper, but this really starts my color story. It's the base, and this really got my creative juices going. So whatever napkin or collage paper you put down, it's going to start, and it's going to guide all the next decisions, because my mind's going, okay, well, what colors are going to go with this aqua color. And you then are using what you know about colors. You can grab out the color wheel and look on there, or just use what you have discovered through doing art, your experience. And you can see the napkin goes very translucent, and you can still see the Semitic writing that's coming through, some of the music notes that are coming through. So that first or second layer, whatever it is not lost. So I've kept this video in real time to show you how easy it is and how quick a masterboard can be done. And this is a great thing to do as a warm-up when you go into your creative space. Just do a masterboard. You know, challenge yourself, use whatever is out, whatever stencils are out, whatever tidbits are out, what might be already in the recycle bin, and set a timer for even 30 minutes and create. I'm just making sure that all these papers are completely glued down. Then I'm grabbing some Prussian blue and spreading it on the lid of a vegetable tray. And then I'm going to dip this foam stamp in it. And I'm just going to make some circles. This is something that I just recently bought at dollar store, and I haven't used it yet. It was sitting on my desk, so now's the time. Now this is adding a lot of contrast. It's adding some dark to what was a light page. Now Prussian blue is in that same teal aqua family. It's the same tone, which is why I chose it. It's kind of that blue-green. So very definitely I have a color story developing here. And this foam sponge, the circular, is just so cool for making circles on there. And I'll definitely use it again. I've got a couple other sizes too. Now, when you're working on a masterboard, you don't know how long it's going to take or how it's going to evolve because it's intuitive. You're just going with the flow. Every decision will inform the next decision. Take your masterboard, turn it around, work with it from different angles because, again, in the end, you're not going to know which orientation you're going to use or how this is going to be cut up. So I turned this around and looked at it, and now I'm taking some, I believe this is green blue or blue-green by Amsterdam, and I'm brayering on the paint here. Again, this is in the same color family as the Prussian blue, as the aqua. This is a little bit more blue. And by brayering it on instead of painting it on or spreading it with my finger or makeup sponge, it doesn't go on opaquely. It doesn't cover everything up, but you get color there. And I'm going from side to side and up and down on it, keeping it straight. I'm not going at an angle. This knocks back some of those other layers, but it also keeps the white space. And I'm using there the Ranger. I think it's a 2.5 brayer, which I find works really well for pages. I find the bigger one is a little too big. This small one is my weapon of choice. So I'm giving this a dry and I'm thinking, okay, what's next? What's next? And I'm looking at the dots and I'm thinking they're a little too forward and I want to knock those blue, Prussian blue dots back a little. So I grab my gesso and I'm going to brayer that as well. That's going to lighten the page somewhat and it's going to knock those blue circles back, but you're still going to see them. They're still picking, it's like putting them in the fog. If you have an area that it got too dark, there's a splotch in that top left-hand corner, that's where you can put a little bit more of the gesso and knock it back a little bit more. So you can be very selective where you brayer as well. I'm loving the mix. I love that aqua from that napkin is still showing through the darks of the Prussian blue. And I'm seeing that unicorn that's there. There's a little bit of yellow in there. And so I grab my Naples yellow and I'm using this screen view stencil. It's a 12-inch one. I love using this stencil, either size. Now, some people tell me they don't like yellow. I wasn't a big fan of yellow either. But I have discovered that when you add yellow, something magical happens to the page. And I knew that yellow here goes really well with that aqua, with that teal. In fact, that was in the napkin with the unicorn and that aqua napkin. I'm varying the opacity of the paint. Some places I'm going very, very lightly, and other places are going to be darker or more yellow. And that's a way of building variation onto your page. I highly recommend Naples yellow and Prussian blue. They are two of my favorite colors. I go through tubes and tubes of those. So these unicorns don't seem to fit, so I'm going to knock them back. Simply by taking some gesso on my finger and rubbing 1 or 2 layers on top of those unicorns. I don't want this to be about unicorns, and I don't really like how that looks, so I'm just knocking it back, kind of making clouds, adding some white space to my page. So if there's something that you don't like, you can get rid of it. This close-up of the Masterboard, even if I could have left it as it is, because it was lovely at this stage. But as I'm turning it around, I'm thinking, okay, what am I done? Am I going to stencil some more? Am I going to layer some more? Am I going to add more color to it? So you're constantly asking yourself, what's next? What will go? What's a go together with this? So I decide I want to add a few more smaller details. So I look through my stamps. This one is from Stamperia, and I got it from NinnysNapkins, and I will put the link when I find the name of this in the description box in case you're looking for it. It's a very fine mesh, and it adds a really nice small scale detail. And I just want this throughout the page. And I'm cleaning it because I'm using acrylic paint on it. I spray it with my Murphy's oil soap and I clean it right away because otherwise it's going to clog up your stamp. Now this mixed media stamp, also from Stamperia, has these lines, and I thought, okay, that's another interesting element that I can add to this masterboard. So I'm going to grab some black acrylic paint and rub it on there with my makeup sponge and then stamp all over this 11 by 17. Remember, you don't have to use your stamp sets as a set. You can use one part of it. And it's a good idea to look at them and put, if you haven't stamped with them, stamp with them, because some of them surprise you and are going to look pretty amazing or in a different way than what you thought. So the yellow looks really great with the blue there because they are opposite each other on the color wheel. Then I grab this daisy spread stencil and light magenta, and lost some footage, sorry, but I'm just using the one and I'm just stenciling this flower on. And basically my color scheme here is red, yellow, and blue, the primary colors. There are different tones of that, but that's basically what we have here. And at this stage, I'm really loving this background, this masterboard. And I'm thinking it's done. People ask, when do you know when it's done? You just get the idea that it's done. If you don't like something, you need to add more layers. If you're happy with it, but now it's very spring-like and colorful, as you'll see in the close-ups at the end of the video. There you have it. That yellow shines through, the pink, every element is working. I grabbed my window templates and I'm looking to see what I might use this for. But unfortunately, you're going to have to wait for that video because I will do that in a separate video where I create multiple projects using the same masterboard. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, go get creative.